I want to take a moment to share something deeply personal with you. A moment when I was overwhelmed by pain and confusion. A moment that brought me to the edge of despair. It happened late one night in a small, quiet room where shadows stretched long across the walls and silence wrapped itself around me like a heavy cloak. I felt utterly alone. Not just in the physical sense, but in my heart and spirit. I was wrestling with questions that had no easy answers. Questions I felt desperate to ask Allah, but afraid to voice. And yet, in that stillness, I found myself crying out, not just with words, but with every ounce of my being, trying to understand why I was suffering so deeply. Before I go any further, I want to invite you into this moment with me. Wherever you are right now, whether it's the middle of the day or the middle of the night, please take a moment to share where you're listening from. It means the world to me to know I'm not alone, that these struggles connect us in a way words often can't. And if what I share resonates with you, if you find even a flicker of hope or comfort here, I would be grateful if you considered subscribing. Together, we can journey through these raw and real moments, finding light in the darkest places. I'm sitting here now reflecting on a journey that has been anything but easy. Some of you may know me as Riz Ahmed, but this story isn't about any role I play or any public persona. This is about the man behind the scenes, the one who wrestles with pain and doubt just like anyone else. It's about a time when the weight of the world pressed down so heavily on me that I could barely breathe. A time when I questioned everything I thought I knew about faith, love, and Allah's presence. The room I was in felt cold and unfamiliar, even though it was a place I had been many times before. The night was quiet except for the faint hum of distant traffic. But inside, my heart was stormy and restless. I could feel the shadows creeping in, not just on the walls, but inside me, as memories of past hurts and present struggles flooded my mind. It was as if the pain I carried had taken on a life of its own, a silent companion that refused to leave. I remember lying down on the cold floor, the hard surface beneath me grounding me in a way that the chaos in my mind could not. Tears came without warning, spilling down my cheeks as I sobbed out questions I didn't know how to ask. Why am I here? Why is this happening to me? Does Allah even see me? These were not just rhetorical questions, they were desperate cries from a soul teetering on the edge of despair. What made it even harder was the feeling that no one around me could truly understand. Friends and loved ones offered sympathy and kind words, but there was a gap between their comfort and the depth of my pain that felt impossible to bridge. Their voices, though well-meaning, sometimes felt distant, as if they were speaking from a place of peace I could not yet reach. I longed for someone to meet me in that darkness, to acknowledge the rawness without trying to fix it immediately. In those hours, I was stripped of all pretense. I wasn't the man who appeared strong and faithful to the world. I was a man grappling with his own human frailty and searching for a glimpse of hope. It was a moment of profound vulnerability, a time when the masks I wore for the world fell away and I was left to face the unfiltered truth of my own suffering. As I lay there, the silence was almost deafening. It wasn't the comforting silence of peace, but the heavy, pressing silence of unanswered questions. I reached out in my heart, not knowing if Allah was listening or if my cries were falling into the void. It was a spiritual wilderness, a place where faith felt fragile and distant, and yet I could not turn away. I was drawn deeper into this struggle, compelled to confront the pain rather than run from it. This moment was not isolated. It was part of a larger journey, a journey marked by countless days and nights of wrestling with doubt and seeking understanding. It was a journey that many of you may recognize because it is the human experience of suffering and longing for meaning. I want you to know that if you find yourself in a similar place, you are not alone. Your pain is real, your questions are valid, and your search for answers is a brave and necessary part of your story. Even though I felt utterly isolated in that room, there was a strange kind of connection forming, a connection not with people but with something deeper, something beyond the visible struggles. It was the beginning of a conversation with Allah that I wasn't sure I was ready to have but couldn't avoid. In that silence and solitude, I began to realize that this pain, as heavy as it was a doorway. It was a doorway to a deeper understanding of myself, of Allah, and of the nature of suffering itself. I want to pause here and ask again, where are you right now? What shadows are creeping into your heart tonight? If you're willing, share your story with me. Let's create a space where we can be honest about our struggles without fear or shame, because I believe that in the sharing, we begin to find healing. I also want to acknowledge that it's okay to struggle with faith. It's okay to have moments of doubt and confusion. Iman isn't about having all the answers or pretending that pain doesn't exist. It's about showing up honestly even when it hurts, and being willing to wrestle with the silence and the questions. This is a journey I am still on, and I'm walking it alongside you. So here I am in this quiet room, vulnerable and raw, inviting you to join me in this space of honesty. This moment was the start of something profound, not because the pain went away immediately, but because I stopped running from it. I stopped pretending I had to have it all figured out. And in that surrender, a faint glimmer of hope began to take root. I'm not going to pretend this is easy or that the road ahead is clear, but I want you to know that even in the darkest nights, there is a presence that waits, patient, loving, and unwavering. Sometimes it takes falling to the floor in tears for us to hear that presence. Sometimes it takes asking the hardest questions for us to begin to find answers that transform us from the inside out. Thank you for letting me share this part of my journey with you. If you feel moved by this story, please consider subscribing so we can continue this conversation together. And please don't hesitate to share where you're listening from and what you're carrying in your heart, because in these shared moments, we find a community of hope, a sanctuary for our souls. For now, I will leave you with this. If you are struggling tonight, if you are wrestling with pain and doubt, you are not alone. There's a space here for you, a space where your questions are welcome and your heart can begin to breathe again. We will continue this journey together. Since that night, the weight of suffering has been a constant companion, one that presses in relentlessly and refuses to loosen its grip. Some days it feels like an invisible burden sitting on my chest, making every breath feel heavy and labored. I found myself asking over and over why pain is such an integral part of this life. Why Allah, who is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, the most compassionate, allows darkness to settle so deeply. These questions aren't easy, and they don't come with simple answers, but they are real, raw, and they come from a heart that desperately wants to understand. Living with pain is not just physical or emotional. It cuts deeper into the soul. It shakes the foundations of faith and hope. For me, the hardest part has been the loneliness that accompanies suffering. It's not just the absence of people nearby, but the feeling that Allah Himself might be distant or silent. There are moments when I reach out in dua, only to be met with silence, a silence so profound it echoes louder than any words. In those moments, the temptation to believe I've been abandoned grows stronger. I remember times when I felt so overwhelmed that I questioned if Allah even cared. I wrestled with doubts that felt like betrayals to everything I had believed. How could the most merciful allow such pain? Was I being punished? Was I forgotten? These questions crept into my mind like shadows, threatening to extinguish the flicker of Iman that remained. It's a lonely place to be, sitting with these doubts and not knowing where they will lead. Friends and family saw my struggle and tried to reach out with kindness and encouragement. Their words were gentle, their intentions good, but no matter how much they cared, they couldn't fully bridge the gap between their peace and my turmoil. Sometimes their attempts to comfort felt like reminders of the distance between their faith and my own faltering belief. I wasn't angry with them, I just felt isolated in a way that sympathy couldn't touch. I often found myself retreating, not because I wanted to be alone, but because the pain was too heavy to carry in company. Familiar du'as that once brought comfort now felt hollow, and Quranic verses that used to inspire seemed distant and irrelevant. It was as if the spiritual language I had once known no longer spoke to the place I was in. I was searching for a word, a touch, a sign, anything that could break through the fog of despair. One night, the struggle reached a breaking point. I was utterly alone with my thoughts and fears, unable to find solace in anything I had known before. The prayers I whispered felt like echoes in a vast canyon, swallowed by emptiness. The surahs I recited offered no answers, only more questions. I felt disconnected from the Allah I had devoted so much to, and I wrestled with the possibility that maybe I had misunderstood everything. In that darkness, I was forced to confront the reality that faith isn't about having all the answers or feeling Allah's presence every moment. Sometimes faith means sitting in silence, carrying the questions, and trusting that Allah is still there, even when He feels far away. This was a painful lesson, but it was also a necessary one. It taught me that doubt is not the enemy of faith, it is a part of the journey. The pain I carried was not just mine, it was a shared human experience. I realized that many others walk this difficult path. People who feel abandoned, confused, and broken. Their stories echo mine. And in that recognition, I found a fragile connection. We are not alone in our suffering, even when it feels like it. Pain can isolate us, but it can also unite us in ways we don't always expect. The struggle with doubt and pain has shaped me in ways I never anticipated. It has peeled back layers of false certainty and exposed the raw truth of what it means to live by faith. There is no quick fix or easy resolution, only the ongoing work of wrestling with Allah and myself. And through this wrestling, I've come to see that pain, as much as I wish it weren't so, is a part of the story Allah is writing in my life. I want to be honest with you, this is not a story of immediate healing or miraculous relief. It is a story of wrestling, of asking hard questions, and of learning to live with uncertainty. It is about the moments when faith feels fragile and distant, and yet we keep showing up, hoping for a breakthrough. If you are in a similar place, I want you to know that your questions are valid and your feelings are real. You are not failing because you doubt. You are courageous because you are willing to face the struggle head on. Sometimes I wonder if the silence I experience is not absence but preparation. Maybe Allah is creating a space for something deeper to grow, a faith that is rooted not in easy answers but in tawakkul, trust that holds through the darkness. This idea has brought me a measure of peace even when the pain continues. It reminds me that suffering is not the end of the story but a chapter that can lead to unexpected growth and understanding. Throughout this journey, I've come to see that the struggle itself can be a form of worship, a way of reaching out even when words fail. It is an honest expression of the heart's deepest needs and fears. And in this honesty, I believe Allah meets us not with judgment or impatience, but with compassion and presence. This is a truth I hold on to tightly when the shadows close in. I want to encourage you to be patient with yourself in your own struggles. It's okay to feel lost, confused, and even angry. These emotions are part of being human, part of the process of moving through pain toward healing. Don't be afraid to share your feelings with those you trust, and don't hesitate to seek support when you need it. You are not meant to carry your burdens alone. In the quiet moments when doubt threatens to overwhelm, try to remember that Allah's presence is salanu alayhi, not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it is a gentle whisper, a subtle reassurance that we are seen and loved even when we can't feel it. These moments may be fleeting, but they are real and they are enough to sustain us when everything else feels uncertain. Thank you for walking with me through this part of the journey. If you're willing, please share with me how you've wrestled with pain and doubt. Your story matters and your voice is a vital part of this conversation. Together we can find strength in our shared struggles and hope in the midst of uncertainty. Keep holding on even when it feels impossible. We are in this together and the journey continues. In the depths of that struggle, there came a moment when I could no longer hold back the most difficult question of all. When the silence pressed in around me and the weight of pain felt unbearable, I finally found the courage to ask Allah directly, Ya Allah, why? Why do you allow this pain? Why is suffering such a part of our spent lives? And why is it mine? It was a question born not of anger, but of deep longing, a longing to understand the purpose behind the inexplicable hurt. I expected an answer, some kind of clear spoken word or sign that would put my doubts to rest. But instead, what came was something far more profound and unexpected. There was no thunderous reply, no sudden illumination. What I experienced was a presence, a quiet, steady companionship that didn't erase the pain, but entered into it with me. It was as if Allah was saying, I am here with you in this. And in that presence, something shifted deep within me. This answer, if you could call it that, wasn't about explanation or justification. It wasn't a tidy solution to the mystery of suffering. Rather, it was an invitation to a new way of understanding pain. not as a punishment or a sign of abandonment, but as a pathway to intimacy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that stillness, I realized that Allah does not promise a life without hurt, but He promises to be with us through every tear and trial. I began to recall moments from my own life where pain, though unbearable at the time, had led to unexpected growth. Times when sorrow opened my heart to greater compassion, when loss deepened my iman, and when brokenness revealed a reliance on Allah I never knew I needed. It was in these moments that I glimpsed a truth far greater than I had understood before, that suffering, while painful, could also be a source of transformation. This realization didn't come all at once, nor did it erase the ongoing struggle, but it planted a seed of hope that began to grow quietly in the background of my heart. I understood that pain was not a sign that Allah had turned away, but rather an invitation to draw nearer, to lean into the discomfort and discover His mercy in ways I had never imagined. With this new perspective, I saw that Allah's presence in suffering is not passive. He is not distant or indifferent, but actively walking beside us, sharing in our pain. It reminded me of the teachings of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who endured immense suffering, loss and hardship, not from a distance, but from within the human experience. This identification with our suffering is a profound comfort, a reminder that we are never truly alone. SubhanAllah, the Prophet PBU taught us that no fatigue, nor disease, nor sorrow, nor sadness, nor hurt, nor distress befalls a Muslim, even if it were the prick he receives from a thorn, but that Allah expiates some of his sins for that. In the quiet moments following this revelation, I felt a deep sense of peace begin to settle over me. Not the kind of peace that removes the pain, but the kind that sustains us through it. It was a peace rooted in the knowledge that Allah's mercy is steadfast, even when our circumstances are not. This peace allowed me to hold my pain without being consumed by it, to face the unknown with a fragile but growing trust. I want to share with you that this kind of encounter is possible for anyone who is willing to ask the hard questions and linger in the silence. Sometimes the answer does not come as a clear voice or dramatic sign, but as a gentle presence that reassures and comforts. It may come in a moment of stillness, in the beauty of a sunset, or in the kindness of a stranger. Allah's response can be subtle, but it is always there, waiting patiently for us to notice. This experience taught me that healing is not always about fixing what is broken immediately. Sometimes it is about learning to live with the brokenness while receiving Allah's comfort. It's about allowing ourselves to be held by a mercy that understands our pain far better than we do. And through this mercy, we begin to find a new kind of wholeness, not one that erases scars, but one that embraces them as part of our story. I believe that pain, as difficult as it is, can be a doorway to deeper faith and greater intimacy with Allah. It strips away illusions and forces us to confront the truth of our dependence on Him. It humbles us, opens our hearts, and invites us into a grace that is bigger than our suffering. This mercy does not minimize the pain, but walks with us through it, transforming us along the way. In reflecting on this, I am reminded that none of us are promised a life free from hardship, but we are promised an Allah who enters into our suffering and carries us through it. As He says in the Qur'an, indeed with hardship comes ease. Surah Ash-Shar 94:6. This promise is the anchor I cling to when the storms rage around me. It is a light in the darkness, a hope that refuses to be extinguished. I want to encourage you to bring your questions and pain honestly before Allah. Don't be afraid to ask why, and to sit in the silence when no immediate answer comes. Trust that Allah is with you even when you cannot feel Him. Trust that His mercy is constant even in the midst of uncertainty, and trust that this journey through pain can lead to a place of unexpected healing and peace. As I continue to walk this path, I hold on to the memory of that quiet presence, the answer that was not a word, but a companionship. It reminds me that Allah's love is not dependent on our understanding, but is freely given, steady and sure. This truth has begun to reshape my faith from the inside out, allowing me to trust not in the absence of pain, but in the presence of Allah through it all. If you are wrestling with similar questions, I want you to know that you are not alone. Your doubts, your fears, your cries are heard. And there is an Allah who meets us in the depths of our pain, offering a mercy that heals beyond explanation. This is a mercy that does not demand perfection or understanding, but simply asks that we come as we are. Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah for His infinite mercy. Thank you for continuing to walk this journey with me. If you feel moved by this story, I invite you to share your own experiences and reflections. Together, we can hold space for one another's pain and hope, finding strength in the shared presence of Allah's love. Our stories, our questions, and our faith are woven together in a tapestry of grace that sustains us through every trial. For now, I leave you with this invitation. Ask the hard questions, linger in the silence, and be open to the unexpected ways Allah may answer. His presence is waiting, ready to meet you where you are, bringing peace that surpasses understanding and healing that transforms from within. After that quiet encounter with Allah's presence, something began to change deep within me. Not in a sudden, dramatic way, but in a gradual unfolding of healing that touched my soul beyond what I had imagined possible. It wasn't the kind of healing that erased all pain or made my struggles disappear overnight. Instead, it was a gentle restoration, a renewal that reached into the very core of my being and whispered peace to the restless places inside. This healing didn't come from a single moment, but from a series of small sacred experiences where I felt Allah's mercy wrap around me like a warm embrace. In these moments, I sensed a profound acceptance, not just of my pain, but of me as I was, broken, worn, and vulnerable. It was a love that didn't demand I fix myself first or pretend to be strong. It simply met me where I was, inviting me to rest and be made whole in a new way. As I began to accept that pain was part of a larger divine purpose, I felt a peace settle over me that I hadn't known before. This peace wasn't dependent on circumstances improving or answers coming quickly. It was a peace rooted in tawakkul, trust that even when I couldn't see the way forward, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was guiding me, holding me steady through the uncertainties. It was a trust that allowed me to breathe more freely, to let go of the need to control everything, and to rest in the assurance of Allah's unwavering presence. This transformation has empowered me to carry on in ways I never thought possible. I've learned to embrace suffering not as something to be feared or avoided at all costs, but as a shared human experience that connects us all. There's a strange beauty in knowing that pain can unite us, that our wounds can become bridges of empathy and understanding. It's a reminder that none of us walk this road alone, and that Allah's love holds us together, even when we feel fragmented. Returning to my daily life with this renewed perspective has changed everything. The way I approach my faith, my relationships, and even my work has been transformed by this deeper understanding of suffering and mercy. I no longer see vulnerability as weakness, but as a doorway to authenticity. I've learned to bring my whole self, including my doubts, fears, and pain into every moment, trusting that Allah's mercy can flow through even the broken parts. In my daily interactions, this shift has made me more honest and heartfelt. Instead of trying to present a perfect version of faith, I allow the realness of my journey to shine through. This authenticity resonates with others, and I've witnessed how sharing my struggles openly creates space for connection and healing. It's a reminder that our stories, even the painful ones, can be a source of light for others walking similar paths. Through this process, I have found a new harmony between vulnerability and strength, a balance that comes not from self-reliance, but from leaning into Allah's sustaining presence. It's a strength that acknowledges weakness and invites grace to fill the gaps. This grace doesn't erase the scars, but transforms them into testimonies of resilience and hope. I want to encourage you to consider this possibility in your own life. Healing may not look like what you expect. It might come slowly, in whispers rather than shouts. It might involve sitting with your pain, allowing yourself to be held by a mercy that understands beyond words. But even in the midst of ongoing struggles, there is a peace and renewal available to you, a peace that sustains and restores. If you are carrying wounds that feel too heavy to bear, I want you to know that it's okay to seek comfort and healing. Even if the road is long, allow yourself the grace to be patient with your own process. Healing is not a destination, but a journey, one that unfolds in the quiet moments of acceptance and trust. And through it all, Allah is walking with you, offering a mercy that never fails. Sharing this renewed perspective with others has been a source of joy and purpose for me. I've come to see that our struggles can become gifts when we use them to inspire, encourage, and uplift those around us. There is power in vulnerability and strength in community. When we bring our pain into the light, it loses some of its power to isolate and destroy. Instead, it becomes a bridge to connection and healing. I want to invite you to be part of this community, to share your story, your struggles, and your hopes. Together, we can create a space where honesty is welcomed and healing is nurtured. No matter where you are on your journey, you are valued, you are seen, and you are loved. Your pain does not define you, but your willingness to face it with courage and faith can transform not only your own life, but the lives of others. In this new chapter of my journey, I am learning to live with both the brokenness and the beauty of life. I am learning to trust that Allah's mercy is bigger than my pain and that His grace is sufficient for every moment. This is not a story of perfection, but of perseverance. A story of finding light in the darkness and hope in the midst of uncertainty. Thank you for continuing to walk with me through this transformation. If you feel moved to share your own experiences or reflections, please don't hesitate. Your voice matters, and your story is an essential part of this tapestry of healing and grace. Together, we can encourage one another to keep moving forward even when the path is difficult. Remember, healing is a process, not an event. It is a journey of surrender, trust, and acceptance. And it is a journey that Allah walks with us every step of the way, offering comfort that goes beyond understanding and renewal that reaches to the depths of our souls. Wherever you are today, I hope you feel that invitation to rest in Allah's mercy and to embrace the healing that is unfolding within you. May you find peace in the midst of your struggles and strength in the presence of an Allah who never leaves your side. We will continue this journey together with hope as our guide and grace as our companion. If you're carrying pain right now, whether it's fresh or has lingered for years, I want to invite you to bring it honestly before Allah. Don't hold back. Don't try to dress it up or make it sound acceptable. Just come as you are with all the rawness, all the questions, all the brokenness. Allah is not afraid of your pain. He doesn't turn away when you're hurting or confused. In fact, He longs for you to come to Him with your whole heart without fear or shame. It's okay to be honest about your struggles, to lay your burdens at His feet and say, Ya Allah, I don't understand. I'm hurting. I'm lost. Allah's willingness to walk with you through your suffering is greater than you can imagine. He doesn't promise to take the pain away immediately or explain every detail in a way that makes sense right now, but He does promise His presence. A presence that heals in ways beyond our understanding and sustains us when the answers seem out of reach. I want you to know that your pain has meaning, even if it feels senseless. Allah is not indifferent to your suffering. He sees every tear and hears every cry, and His mercy is waiting to meet you there, to hold you close, and to begin the work of healing that only He can do. This healing is not always about fixing what's broken. Sometimes it's about finding peace in the midst of brokenness and strength in the midst of weakness. If you're listening and feeling overwhelmed, I want to make dua with you now. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, I lift up everyone who is hurting today. I ask that you would surround them with your comforting presence, that they would feel your peace that surpasses all understanding, heal their hearts, restore their hope, and remind them that they are never alone. Help them to trust you even when the path is unclear, and to find refuge in your unfailing mercy. Grant them sabr, patience in their trials, and grant them strength. Ameen. I want to remind you that while pain is real and often unavoidable, Allah's answer to it brings healing that restores and sustains. It's a healing that doesn't erase scars, but transforms them into testimonies of grace and resilience. It's a healing that empowers us to move forward with hope even when the future feels uncertain. So, if you're carrying a heavy burden, if doubt or fear has crept into your faith, I want to encourage you to keep coming to Allah with your honest questions and your deepest pain. Don't be afraid to ask, Ya Allah, do you really love me? Be prepared for an answer that may not come in words, but in a gentle, unwavering presence that changes everything. You are loved. You are chosen. You are enough. Not because of what you do or how well you hold it together, but because of who you are in the eyes of an Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who delights in you. Your story matters, your pain matters, and your healing matters. Thank you for allowing me to share this journey with you. If this message has touched your heart, please consider subscribing so we can continue to explore these truths together. And don't hesitate to share where you're listening from and what you're carrying right now. Together, we can build a community where honesty is welcomed and healing is nurtured. Remember, no matter how deep the pain, Allah's mercy is deeper still. He is waiting to meet you, to heal you, and to walk with you every step of the way. You are not alone. You are held, and you are deeply, unconditionally loved. Alhamdulillah.